Mac and Murray College Football Show. We said it last week. Don't sleep on even a bad week because we didn't get all the ranked on ranked football games. It was still going to be a great week of football, and we got it. It delivered. Mac, it delivered in the noon window. It delivered in the 3:30 window. And it delivered in the night window as well. It was a full day of, if you had opportunity with YouTube TV or whatever you have, where you could do the quad boxes. I got to Auburn early. I was like 4 hours early to the game, just sitting in the booth with my quad boxes on my computer, just taking it all in. And it was a magnificent day of college football. Did you enjoy yourself?
Oh man, absolutely. And here's the deal. The games we thought, okay, it's not as sexy because of, like, as you just mentioned, those ranked on ranked matchups, but there were some impactful games. There were some swinging games where you could maybe think of somebody or some conference a little bit differently, and they all delivered in one way or the other. And it was just pandemonium, chaos, great finishes, game-winning drives, game-winning stops, some disappointment in my team and your team that maybe they rallied a little bit. You feel a little better, but it was chaos. And that's why, honestly, college football is the best sport in the world, right? Like, every week matters, and it's going to dictate. Like, we talk about extending this playoff. We've got a 13, 14-week playoff, because if you lose these games and you lose some of these games, you're out.
Yep.
You got to keep going, and you're fighting for your life. And there's some fun storylines developing that I love and that I think are really cool. And it's going to be fascinating 3-4 weeks from now. Where are we? Like, is it even more chaos?
Oh, yeah.
Or some of these teams that we think, really taking shape, and we start seeing this model
I think it would be more chaos. Even I thought last season was one of the more exciting college football seasons because of the playoffs. I thought November was terrific with so many teams wanting to get to the postseason. And then with the balancing of the powers because of NIL, because of the salary cap, I think
Right.
you're seeing more competitive teams in a lot of these leagues. SEC, I think, is the best example of it. Obviously, we always talk about the Big 12 and how competitive the Big 12 is. I think the Big 12 actually is a little bit more top heavy than it was a year ago. I still think the Big 10 has 3 teams that are probably on a league of their own. But I think like just SEC, for example, I think there's a lot of teams that can win a ton of football games and be in contention, because there really isn't that top tier team this year in that league. So I think there's going to be more upsets. There's going to be more excitement. There's going to be more, like you alluded to, 4-quarter ball games that we'll be talking about each week. So I think last year, like I said, was really fun. I think this year will be even better for college football. And we are here to deliver all the best action here at the Mac and Murray College Football Show. All right. Let's start off with something we did not anticipate that we'd be starting the show off with. We thought we'd start with Michigan, Oklahoma. Not so fast. We're starting with Billy Napier, Florida at home in the Swamp. Game 2. They didn't look great week 1, but you know what? The quarterback was injured all offseason. He had to get the rust knocked off. That's what we were saying. That's what a lot of people were saying. USF's good. They whooped up on Boise State, but they can't get it done in the Swamp. And they did. They take down Florida. And now the hot seat talk is back for Billy Napier. The schedule for Florida, as we know, is tough. Now I was hearing people last night saying, is Florida even going to make a bowl game? They can't beat USF. Look at their schedule. Can they even make a bowl game? So now we've swung the pendulum to the other side when it comes to the Florida Gators. It was not what you wanted if you're a Gators fan, obviously. And we said this last week about USF. When you watch the tape versus Boise State, this was a team that played great defense, that was disciplined, that flew around, that tackled well, that had a very athletic, big, mobile quarterback. And Alex Golish and his offense, you knew it's going to be good. They're going to take completions and they're going to move the change. So, but still, at the end of the day, man, better athletes at Florida. So big time disappointment if you're Billy Napier after that loss.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's any question. You talk about shocking, the college football world. I mean, that was a big one that just sent, kind of waves. And it, like, from Jump Street, these guys just looked really physical, were not afraid, and then, take the lead in the second half, and you're just looking like, are they going to do this? Like, is this really happening? And, I think what you brought up about the defense is so true. Like, they were bullying those guys. They were in the backfield. They were making, tackles for loss left and right. And, it wasn't that the offense looked bad for Florida, just couldn't get going. Yeah. It was just like, good thing here, then nothing else really.
They did drive the length of the field, like the lack of consistent explosive plays. When you go against a good defense, you're going to stall out. I mean, you've been a part of a million of offenses. Like, you can move the ball between the 20s, but they just couldn't execute in the red zone. And that's what happens when you get to play 10 and 11 and 12.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, there's part of that's a young quarterback figuring it out, but also like you got to help them. You got to get them in those situations. So it is kind of a group project here, and you get an F, and it's not good. And the rumblings on Twitter, my goodness, it's just everywhere I look. And I'm not a Gator fan. I have nothing to do with the Gators, but it's all over my TL of get this guy out of here. We need somebody new. This is done. And that's tough in game 2 to have to deal with, because that's all he's going to hear everywhere he goes. That's all that he's going to be asked about with the media. And anytime he does anything, and he was post game, and he says, "I'm just focused on coaching my team," and that stinks. And like you said, this gauntlet coming up for these boys, if they don't figure it out, it could get ugly in a hurry. I mean, you're talking about playing number 5 at number 5 Miami, number 7 Texas, number 19 Texas A&M, Mississippi State team that just beat a top 10 team at home versus Georgia, number 20 Mississippi State or Mississippi, Tennessee, and then finishing the season
Florida State
with a freaking Florida State team that looks like they are all the way back.
I would say the one positive is this team.
Is Florida this year's FSU? That's the question. Like, are they winning?
I don't know about. I mean, because Florida at least has a quarterback. Florida State did not have a quarterback a year ago. DJ Lagway is no DJU, so let's not go crazy here.
Listen, I know you got to defend your preseason list.
I do have to, and I thought DJ looked better. I thought he looked better from week 1 to week 2. He still missed some throws and opportunities. You're like, DJ, man, like I know you're better than that. Don't want to seem like I'm putting all the blame on him or I'm trying to defend him or whatever. He has to play better. If you're going to be the number 1 quarterback in the country, if you're going to be the superstar, I need you to play like a superstar. And he played good football, not elite football. And I need him to play elite football because he is an elite talent. But everywhere else was just good. I thought the running game was good for Florida. I thought Jaden Ball obviously is a beast. But the defense, no turnovers. The defense allowed Byron Brown to throw for 263 yards, allowed for USF to run for 128 yards and get 4.4 yards per carry. The defense did not play to what we needed and Florida fans needed to play to.
1 sack, hardly any tackles for loss.
No, I just thought like they got bullied the lines of scrimmage a lot. And there were some calls that I even was like, Florida at the end of half was driving for 2 touchdowns. One got called back from holding. The other one was an offensive pass interference, which was complete BS from the tight end. That should have been a touchdown. But like, you shouldn't have to say, "Oh, we lost a game against USF at home because a ref stole 7 points from us." That should have never got to that point. So I get the frustration. I do think that Billy gets a little bit too cute sometimes with some of the play calls, with the motions and shifts and this guy doing this and this guy doing that. And it's like, at the end of the day, when you're going against a team like USF, Billy, you are bigger, you are more physical, you have the superior athletes. Just play football. And I feel like that at times when you watch the Florida tape, there is a lack of trust that we have DJ, we have Eugene Wilson, we have Jaden Ball. Let's just line up and play. I back this up 10, 15 years ago. When Alabama was elite, when Georgia, when we were rolling on offense, some of these elite offenses, we just lined up and said, you know what, our guys are better than your guys. We don't got to be cute. Let's just play football, man. And I think Billy's kind of in that too cutesy mood at time, and that bit him in the butt yesterday throughout the ball game when he just did not trust his guys to go out there and make plays. So the heat's turned up. There's no doubt about it. The heat was turned up a year ago when they got their butt waxed against Miami. They turned it around, had a really successful season. So now can you do it again? I'll say this. I think they can. I think they have the guys. I think they have the defense. I think they have the quarterback. They have to
crank it up. That's what you think? Like, because of DJ, they can do that? He's just got to play to his potential?
He's got to play to his potential. And I think he did not play all offseason. It's week 2. I still believe in him. I still believe that Jaden Ball is one of the best running backs in the SEC. I still believe this offensive line can be really damn good. I think this receivers can be really good. I think there's too much good on this team. And if they can't get it done with what I would consider is the best roster Florida's had in quite some time, then yes, the decision has to be made. It is time to move on from Billy.
Right. Which sucks and we hate, but that's a part of football. And this is a big old business and everybody, and it's been that way for a long time, but it just feels like it's even more so now, and patience super thin. There's not a lot of time because of the portal, because of the money, because of all these things floating around. You don't have time to just wait and to build and to be patient, right? Like it's instantaneous now. And if you don't deliver, that's a piece of it. But I will say, like you said, DJ's unbelievable prospect. They have the schedule. You flip it around, you win games, you're good. You're
Yeah.
fine. You can take care of it yourself, this coaching staff and others there. And so, we'll see what happens there. Crazy game. Big shout out to USF
Hell
there.
yeah.
They've got a great schedule. They've got Miami next. Are they just, the Grim Reaper walking down playoff hopeful teams, mowing them down? We'll see. I'm sure that'll be a game we talk about
Oh yeah.
because now it's ecstatic. And also, we'll talk about this later because it'll come out in a day or two. I think USF's in our top 15. I think they deserve that. I think they have the best resume in
Wow,
college
we haven't
football
even
right
discussed this yet. You're just throwing them in there, but okay, okay.
forcing you, putting your feet to the fire. These guys have the best wins in college football.
I agree.
So,
Listen, I'm from
we'll see.
Tampa. I love the hometown team doing their
That's
thing.
right.
I
That's
ain't
your
gonna bitch
team.
about it. It's my hometown team, baby. All right, speaking of
Yeah.
quarterback or coaches on the hot seat, we're gonna touch on this real quickly before we get onto the Michigan-Oklahoma matchup. Virginia Tech started off hot versus Vandy, and Vandy, like I said, veteran quarterback, good defense, put it on your boys in the second half. I mean,
Hammer.
they like negative
Hammer.
yards, I think, in the second half for the majority of it. I mean, they could not get anything going. Vandy ends up blowing out Virginia Tech in a big, big way yesterday. And now the Pry discussion
Dude,
is extremely hot.
of
So I'll lean
course.
on you on this one a little bit with Virginia Tech. Where are they with their head coach in this football team?
Listen, I thought that Gator Twitter was bad. Virginia Tech Twitter, like right after the game, they're like, leave them there. Like, we're good.
Leave
We're
him on the
moving on.
tarmac. Pull
Yeah,
Lane
just
Kiffin.
keep 'em. And you're at home. You're at home. Leave them there. Just bury them somewhere. It was crazy to see the reaction, but it's really not. Because I've said this for years, and it's been kind of an unfortunate run. Here for Virginia Tech, because these fans deserve it. They show up and show out, Aaron. I don't care if they've won 2 games or if they're still in the hunt early like this. That place is packed out of its mind. It's one of the best environments in college football, one of the best environments in the ACC, and they've had nothing to cheer
Nothing.
for a
Nothing.
decade plus, and it kills them and it kills me, but they still are there. So they deserve it and they need it and they want to have it. And so I think just the lack of adjustments, the lack of winning, and this is not an example for this game, close games, one-score games, they're horrific. They're the worst in college football. Anybody, G5, Power 4, anybody, they're the worst records since this tenure in one-score games. They can't win them. And the coaching, lack of adjustments or just absolutely wrong adjustments, when you look at this team this year, just this year alone, in 2 games, they've been outscored 48-3 in the second half. I mean, they are getting volley-whopped in regards to adjustments and things that you need to do and seeing progress. So it's baffling to me. And they have talented teams. Look at last year's roster. They've got 5 dudes in the NFL from that team, and you did nothing with it. And you got a quarterback that we thought. So we think it's hot in Florida. It's hot in Hokies right there in Blacksburg. It is, I don't know how long it'll go because there's some real juice, and they just had a big meeting. And I know whatever from the AD and the board of visitors or board of trustees there, where they need all this money and they need this and that. Well, you go 0-2 in the fashion you just did, that money ain't coming. I mean, there's no
Well, that's the
excitement.
problem,
There's
though,
no
too, though.
juice.
I think that's the hard thing nowadays with firing these coaches is, can you fire coaches in today's world when the athletic department's down $20 million?
Right.
They're already
Right.
down 20 because they got to pay the players. These are
And I don't
the
know.
thing about
I don't
I do
know
think going forward,
yeah.
you have to be
Yeah.
smarter, and you
Yeah.
have to essentially structure these contracts differently. You
Mhm.
cannot put all this guaranteed money for these coaches
Right.
and these crazy buyouts. You just can't
Right.
do it. And good
Yeah.
for the coaches and good for the super agents that are making these things happen for these coaches
Right.
to get these payouts, but you just cannot afford to pay a coach out 20, 30, 40, 50 plus $1,000,000 and then have to turn around and pay players $20 million the next year.
Correct. It's an interesting thing. It's
Yeah.
an interesting thing. And I don't know the financials there either. If they have those deeper pockets where they can make a couple calls and get that going, so we'll see. The light just went out in my studio. The lights might be going out in Plattsburgh and Florida there in Gainesville too.
You look
So
good with the light
let's
out.
talk about Michigan and Oklahoma. I'm going to turn this light
Yeah,
on.
you go there. All right, Michigan goes on the road to Oklahoma. Oklahoma takes them down 24-13. And we have a new Heisman favorite. John Mateer is now, I believe, #1 on most betting sites for futures bets for the Heisman. I really like him. I saw someone put this on Twitter last night, and I really agree with this one. A lot of Baker in him with just the F it, I'm just going to throw the football. He's twitchy. He throws with anticipation. We talked about this a week ago, watching the tape from week one. He lets it rip, man. Like he sees it, he throws it. And guess what? You're gonna make mistakes sometimes. It's a funny story, Emac. I was at this golf event with Ronnie Barber was there, and so was Matt Ryan. And Ronnie got up there and we kind of gave Matt some crap about, oh, I remember one of my favorite plays when I picked you off pick six or whatever, and Matt got up there afterwards, like, you know what? If you play the quarterback position scared, you ain't gonna make it and you ain't gonna make plays. You
Yeah.
have to be willing to take risk. And yes, sometimes you put the ball in danger, but if you play conservatively, guess what? You may win a bunch of games, but you ain't ever gonna win the big one. You
Right.
have to be willing to push it and put it into tight windows. And that's the one thing John Mateer does, man. He is not afraid to push the envelope, even against an elite defense like Michigan. So to see him go out there and have the success he did, yeah, he had the interception when the ball was up by him, but he's gonna make some mistakes. It's okay.
Yeah.
Guess
Yeah.
what? He's got a great defense. He makes a mistake. Defense, get your ass out there and go make some plays, which they did as well.
Mhm.
Oklahoma's defense was elite. They frustrated a young quarterback. They made Michigan one-dimensional. They did everything they needed to do to prove that Oklahoma is a contender in the SEC, that they have an elite quarterback, the defense is top-notch, and I'm not gonna say, like, they're back because they had a successful season
Sure.
2 years ago, but
Sure.
that's a really good football team that was an impressive win against, I would say, a really quality opponent in Michigan.
Oh, sure. It was huge. And, I think it went about the way I'm going to touch on John Mateer here in a second, but I think it went about the way that I thought it would, from the defense trying to really confuse,
Yep.
a great young, very young quarterback and Bryce Underwood. And how can they make, Michigan one dimensional? And outside of a, amazing way to start the second half, 75-yard run by Michigan. I mean, they were killing those dudes
Yep.
running the football. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't get any type of burst. Every gap was sound. Tackles in the backfield, making big time plays, blitzing the heck out of, like, Bryce struggled big time
Yep.
against the blitz. It was until late in the fourth quarter that he even had a completion against the blitz, which is hard. And he's young and he's going to be fine. He'll be great. But that's just difficult. But that's what happens when you play Brent Venables defense. That's what happens
Yep.
when you play an experienced, really good, really deep defensive line. They can do those things
Mhm.
and they can show you looks that you have no idea what you're looking at and you're kind of guessing. And, it was really good game plan by them. And I love that. And I thought that's, what it could look like. The John Mateer, Baker Mayfield thing, I think is spot on. And is that lazy because he's from there? Maybe. But they look very similar. I think John's a little more twitchy, a little faster, a little more explosive in regards to that burst. But like the moxie, the swagger,
It's
it looks
there.
very similar. Looks very similar.
Overall playmaking ability is there.
Yeah.
And going back to kind of the game plan there for Oklahoma, defensively, I mean, yes, bring pressure, show different looks, a lot of things that he's probably never seen in his life. I mean, the most success that Bryce had in the football game was either him rolling out or design quarterback rollouts. And just to
Right.
make things easier to, he throws the ball on the run really, very well. He's an athlete. You see the field better when you're outside the pocket. This was a good learning moment for him. I was high on him a week ago from what I saw. I'm still very high on him after even last night with some of the plays he make. He's a young quarterback, hostile environment, elite defense, one of the best defensive minds in the game. What do we think is going to happen? We were hoping that Michigan's defense could stonewall Oklahoma, and they did against the run. And I think that's still a problem for Oklahoma going forward. Like, how do you get the run game going where it's not John Mateer being creative when things aren't there down the field? Because you look at it, Barnes, 6 carries for 24 yards. Blaylock, 9 carries for 24 yards. Like, that ain't going to get it done week in and week out unless John Mateer truly is that Heisman guy, which right now he could be, and he looks like it. He looks the part.
Yeah.
But to say that, hey, Mateer, you got to go out there and do what you did passing the football, which was terrific. And then on top of that, give us, another 75 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. If he can do that week in and week out with their schedule, then yes, he is the runaway winner when it comes to the Heisman. I still need to see this offensive line for OU dominate. And when we talk about easier said than done going against Michigan in that defensive line.
Correct.
But you are going to face Texas that has a great defensive line. You're going to face other teams in the SEC that have great defense lines. Auburn, I had Auburn last night. That's a great defensive line. Texas, great defensive line. Tennessee's going to be good defensively. Alabama's going to be good defensively. Missouri, great defensive line. LSU improved there. Like, this O-line's got to pick it up in a big way if Oklahoma truly wants to be contenders. But you know what? Every team has a weakness. You can sit back and say, yeah, offense line has to be better, but you have the quarterback The receivers look good. Burks is terrific, and you have an elite defense. I think you have enough to make a deep run.
Yeah, and I think, at the end of the day, listen, the teams was a part of, at Clemson, we had mobile quarterbacks, and we're going to run them. Like,
Yeah.
that's part of our offense, and they have to do that, and they know that. And I think John Mateer knows that and probably wants it, honestly. I think that's what's going to help separate him, at the next level. It's not like he's some big, massive, perfect prospect that's 6'5", 240 that can stand in the pocket and deliver strikes. Being a shorter guy, what separates you? Is it your accuracy? Is it your mobility? Is it your leadership? What is it? And so for him to be able to put all those together, I'm fine with it. I'm a little less concerned than maybe you are about the run game, because I think he has to be a part of it. And I know a week ago we didn't see that because probably you didn't want to have to.
I
And you
just
couldn't
worry about the
run.
game where he does have 2 or 3 picks.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think the way
It might happen.
I
It
think
might
the
happen.
way he plays, that's gonna happen, but we're in an era
Yeah.
too where, you know what, that happens and you
Yeah,
lose a
and he has
game.
a great defense. That defense, like you said, is going to help him. It's going to
It's
help him.
gonna
It's
help
just
him.
part of the
It is.
gunslinger, go out there, ball. I was impressed. I was impressed with the game plan. Love what they saw, the physicality. Again, it's nice when games go kind of the way you think they
Yeah.
will, just because, they play to their abilities. And that's I think what we saw from Oklahoma. I think that defense is really good.
And Michigan, man, great defense, great young quarterback. Haynes has looked good for the first 2
They'll be
weeks.
fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah, but they need some receivers this offseason. I think this
Step
is a
up.
year where you build Bryce Underwood, you go into the portal next offseason, you get some better talent around him, and then all of a sudden Michigan is back as true contenders, not only in the Big Ten, but in the national landscape because he is still uber, uber talented. Oklahoma, man, big win, one of the bigger wins to start the football season, and the Sooners are alive and most likely going to be in our top 15, probably in our top 10 from what we saw in that game. All right. A team that will be outside of our top 15 and out of everyone's top 15 is Arizona State going on the road to Mississippi State. And I'll start with this, EMAC, the quarterback play. Sam Levitt was the worst I've seen Sam Levitt. The balls were high. He was late. He was indecisive. And his footwork in the pocket was horrendous. He was bouncing around. He was seeing ghosts. He was hearing too many cowbells. It was just erratic. And they do it like first half. I mean, that is as bad as football you could play from a really good quarterback that I've seen. And the second half, they just said, you know what, screw it. We're just going to run the football. And they just ran it over and over and over and over again. Ended up getting 38 minutes total time of possession. It just was not a good game from him. And credit to Mississippi State, their D-line got after him in the pass game, weren't really good against the run, were better against the pass, but still, man, a quarterback of his caliber, that is as bad as it's going to get for him, hopefully this season, and for a quarterback. And that's what cost him. It's just a slow start. Obviously, they got back in the game there in the second half. It took a lead, but he's got to be better in order for them to get back to being a playoff contention football team.
I don't think there's any question, especially with all the hype and excitement. I mean, I saw him in the top 1, 2, 3 of a lot of people's lists. And that's hard, right? Like, that's hard when you get that expectation on you and maybe you're not ready to make that jump. But that's the world we live in now with the transfer portal, with the NIL, with the media expectations. And, fair or not, you get deemed this guy and you have to go and deliver and you have to go be that guy every week. And when you're not, the scrutiny will be heavy. The burden will be heavy there. And he just didn't. I mean, 82 yards. That's crazy.
I mean, he missed some wide open
2 picks.
receivers,
Right,
wide open
right.
receivers.
And so and I get that's hard, and I get that's a tough environment to play, but only being sacked twice, to see the ghost that he was, to have the pressure, I guess that maybe he felt, it was bad. And kudos to Mississippi State. I mean, huge job by them. I did not think this game would go like this, and so now that's that stomping ground that the SEC has. Well, look what we do against the Big 12's best and probably our worst. I think Mississippi State was picked at the very bottom of the SEC. So that's when we start talking about these conferences and who matters and why the SEC is so strong. It's because things like this happen. It's because things, just go the way that they do. Vandy dominating, against a Virginia Tech team that maybe was middle of the pack. So that's just a piece of it. And again, you have to give them credit because Arizona State goes up and they're winning. And then what happens? Blake Shapen just delivers a dart. I mean, that was one of the most beautiful balls I've seen. Kind of a
completely blown
there.
coverage. And I'll say this,
sure,
like
but it was awesome.
I had 2 Mississippi State games a year ago, and Levy was just raving about Blake Shapen, and the quarterback that they had who ended up transferring to LSU actually played well last year. But he's like, dude, I'm telling you, this Blake Shapen kid We were hoping he was going to be our guy. Obviously, gets hurt, had to make some adjustments, but he is our guy going forward. And you see why that Levy has so much faith in him. I thought he played extremely well. The explosive passes were down the field. He kind of went through a little bit in the third quarter where a lot of the passes were off, some of the inaccuracy started to come out. But overall, man, he is a talented quarterback. He can push the ball vertically down the field. They got talent around him. I love what Levy can do from a play calling standpoint to create some one-on-one matchups with guys on the outside. And I'm trying to pull up some of the receivers right now in the stats, but Brendan Thompson, 6 for 131, Anthony Evans, 9 for 108. I mean, have two receivers that go out and make plays like that are terrific. And then, like I said, the touchdown at the end, complete mess up by ASU. The safety and corner miscommunicate. Receiver ends up coming wide open, throws a beautiful pass for the touchdown. But it doesn't just start there, EMAC. That defense, ASU drove right down the field, got to the 2 or 3 yard line, and Mississippi State's defense had to run through back-to-back stops, forced a field goal, which gave Mississippi State the opportunity to go down the field and score the touchdown to win. So for a defense that was on the field for 38 minutes, that was, again, absolutely worked in the second half when it came to run defense, to then go out there and get that stand in crunch time to force the field goal. And that just tells you a lot about what the culture is that Levy's building there in Stark Vegas. I think he's a great coach. I think he's got a great offensive mind. The offense is going to do their thing. Their offense did their thing a year ago. It was really the defense that needed to play catch up. They're moving in the right direction against, this week, which was a good offense. So credit to them in a massive win against a ranked opponent.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. Something that was not fun to watch, in particularly for me, Baylor SMU. And I'll tell you why. Because SMU looked great. They're going back and forth. They get out to a pretty substantial lead. And then it's like, okay, let's let them back in it. And we go up, I think it was 17-7. What's that? Yes, well, it was 17-7 at one point. Then they let them back in it. And then they're up 2 scores with like 6 minutes left in the game. And I'm like, oh, this is great. This is over. Let's, watch something else. And then they just let Baylor back into it. And that was really frustrating that you can't just bow up, make a couple of stands and get out of there. And part of that, offense couldn't keep the ball. They were giving it back to them, because when you're doing that of that nature, you hope you can keep kind of stringing it out there, but it just didn't happen. And there were some weird mistakes. It wasn't like a ton of bad turnovers, but it just wasn't. There were things left on the table that really kind of disappointed me that they weren't able to capture, that I thought we would, see some QBs take steps. And that's been a little slower than maybe I anticipated. But we got to give credit to Sawyer Robertson there, man. He is balling. This dude, 3 games in a row, going back to last year, over 400 yards. He throws the ball 50 freaking times. I mean, they had a lot of plays on offense for Baylor, and they never quit. They never doubted. They're down 14 with 8-7 minutes to go, and they say, we're good. We'll be okay. And they do it, and he delivers 4 touchdowns. Huge performance by him, but disappointed in my Mustangs not getting
the ponies just couldn't close. Listen,
man.
Kevin Jennings was unconscious to start the football game. I mean, both quarterbacks were. This was I remember tweeting something at halftime like, this is the type of game that I love to watch. The stats were absolutely through the roof. Baylor still has a lot of issues they got to figure out on defense. From that first game against Auburn to the same. It was funny talking to the Auburn staff this week. They're like, that offense is really good, which is why I kept saying, like last night during the broadcast for Auburn fans, like, you gave up 24 points on the road to one of the best offenses in the country and maybe one of the best, maybe the best offense in the Big 12. That is a talented quarterback that's going to put up crazy stats this entire season, a plethora of skill around him that can make plays on the outside, from Josh Cameron to Hawkins. Like, they got dudes on the outside that can win and make plays for you. That was a great performance for Auburn defensively. Like, I know the second half wasn't as good, and it showed this week once again that this Baylor offense can score. They can score fast. That Sawyer Roberts, if he continues to play that, we talk about Mateer being in the Heisman discussion. Sure. Sawyer Robertson may have at the end of the year the best stats of any quarterback in the country. May be in New York. Not saying he's going to win it, but he may be in New York purely for the fact that he could throw for 50 touchdowns and 4,500 yards. And he's gonna have to do it because the defense is that bad. We've seen now back-to-back weeks they can't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. They're just not good on that side of the football. So guess what, Sawyer Robinson? Ice that puppy up. Do some rotational exercises to keep it strong, because you're going to have to throw the football 45 to 50 times per game. you're gonna have to throw 4 touchdowns a game in order for Baylor to win, and honestly, I think he's good enough to do it in that league. In the
Yeah.
Big 12, he is more than capable of going out there and playing in a big way, so monster win for Baylor. I am they were my dark horses, was a little bit disappointed the way they played defensively the past 2 weeks, but
Mhm.
really encouraged that Sawyer Robinson is that dude and and
Yeah.
and the receivers are that good on the outside.
They looked fantastic, and he knows it too. Like, he's confident ripping that ball downfield. And listen, I was concerned with the SMU corners. That was a real weak part of their team a year ago. Looks like it may be the same, but again, really good offense, as you said. We'll see them pick up. We've got some quarterbacks that are balling, man. You know,
Yeah.
there's been a string of guys, and Jalen Daniels is another guy that you really like, and he's healthy and he looks good.
Yeah, he looked good, but so did Bo Prabula. I mean, the Kansas of all the games yesterday, I'll say one of the more enjoyable games to watch was that Kansas Missouri. Obviously, the border war is back. First time they've played that in well over a decade, and just what that game means to those fan bases and the excitement and bringing it back was just so cool to see yesterday. But Bo Prabula to me was the story. You go into the offseason, you get a quarterback, a guy that has not played a lot at Penn State, a guy that was deemed a running quarterback. And from the tape, you kind of have to make those conclusions, from what
Mhm.
how Penn State used him was more for the run, was more for the quick passes, not a lot of throws down the field. I had him last week. I thought he looked great. I thought he looked confident. Obviously, the coaching staff had glaring reviews about what he can do and what he can do for their offense. But until you really see it against a quality team, you just don't know. And this was his first
Right.
opportunity at home against a quality team in Kansas to show that he can run this offense at a high level. And to see him go 30 of 39, 334, 3 touchdowns, to obviously know that he's athletic, wasn't his best day running, but yet he has that to him. And then to have 2 running backs that they have, and Ahmad Hardy, who's an absolute tank, Mal Roberts as well, both go for over 100 yards. This is a really good offense. Kevin Coleman, a great addition from Mississippi State. You know what he can do in the slot receiver, and that's kind of their go-to spot in the offense is that slot receiver. Northfleet is a great tight end. I look at Missouri all of a sudden, and we talk about teams that has won back-to-back double-digit seasons,
Right.
wins, that
Right.
was disrespected to start the season off by not being ranked inside the top 25, has really answered the bell. We got a quarterback. We got a premier running back. We got talent on the outside. I told you the defense is going to be good. That defensive line is elite. The secondary is still a little bit of a question mark. But man, I am just very bullish about
Yeah.
Missouri because of the way Bo played. But going back to your original point, I thought Jalen played well. The problem for
Mhm.
Jalen, it's a one-man band right now. It's
Right.
Jalen
Which it
and
kinda has
Jalen,
been.
and it's
That's
got to
been
be
his
all
issue.
Jalen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's difficult, for a guy to take that in, to feel that way, to do it. And then, when you run out of steam and you need a little break, there's no one else that can help you. I mean, they jumped out. I mean, it's 21 to maybe nothing. They scored 21 in the first quarter. And then Missouri's like, well, just take a breath here. We'll
Yep.
we'll finish this game out. And 15 in the second, 14 in the fourth. They just closed out. I mean, they looked really good. And I think that is difficult, when a guy feels like he is kind of
There's
honestly,
no
it's kind of
running
like
game.
Tommy Castellanos. I know. It's like Tommy Castellanos a year ago at BC. There's just nothing around you, and you're just like, I'm doing
Well,
everything I
there's no
can.
defense either. And like I said, I think heading into the game, we talked about the strength of Missouri. This season has got to be offensive line, which underperformed a
Right.
week ago, but obviously performed much better yesterday. And this defensive line, they're fast, they're
Mhm.
physical. They went into the portal and got some talented guys. They got Jalen Catalon, which they love at the safety position, out there making plays leading up. But they feel like that defensive line is going to be one of their strengths of that football team. And to go into a
Right.
game against Kansas and hold them to 0.2 yards per carry,
Mhm.
0.2 yards per carry. That is as one-dimensional as you could make a football team, because I thought Jalen made some really good plays throughout the ball game,
Mm.
but I don't care how good you are at quarterback, you cannot have a team run for 0.2 yards, and your defense play the way they played and
Yeah.
expect to win the football game. This is a balanced Missouri team, and all of a sudden you start looking at Missouri's schedule and say, "You know what? It's doable. It's
Sure.
doable." You got Louisiana, South Carolina comes into town, and South Carolina's look good. I don't want to say I would still think Missouri's probably favored. You have Alabama coming into town. I mean, that game's doable. At
Right.
Auburn, at Vandy, you get A&M at home, Mississippi State at home. And then I think at Oklahoma is going to be obviously a major challenge. We see what that football team looks like. But this is a team that is going to be in all these games and have a chance to win. Once again, for the 3rd straight year, get to that double-digit win.
Yeah.
And if they do that, I think they are in position to be a playoff team. So Eli
Right.
Drinkwitz, man, good job this
He's
year
come
in
on.
the portal.
Yeah.
He's got
Yeah.
himself a football team, brother.
I think it's fascinating too. You kind of look at the amount of plays and the time of possession. I mean, Missouri just dominated. I mean, they had a 15 play drive, a 17 play drive, a 10 play drive. I mean, they were just kind of going. Here we go, get out of our way, and that's hard to overcome. It's
40
hard
minutes to
to
20 minutes time of
yeah,
possession.
that's a lot.
And you wonder why
It's
the
not great.
defense was just
Yeah,
gassed.
right. It's not easy to do.
5.6 yards per carry compared to point 0.2. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
can you run it? Can you own the time of possession? Missouri did that. Massive win for them as they continue to build some momentum with their young quarterback. Another interesting game. I want to hit on this one because you and I are both fans of Duke. I got Duke this weekend, and this is a weird game, and I don't want to bring out the hopium. I don't want to bring out the
Not the
excuses
hopium.
because like you can go a million ways. Like, oh my God, Duke should have been in it. Duke was the
Yeah.
better team. Duke was this. Duke was that. If only Duke didn't have two guys out there with double, the same numbers. If Duke didn't muff the punt. If Duke you can go make all these scenarios,
But you're right.
but you lost 45-19.
Got aired out.
45 to
And I
19.
think
But
yeah,
still, they look so good. So, like, how
I
do you
know.
break this down? Because they did look
Yeah.
good, and Mensa
Well,
looked good, and it's just so many things. But guess what? You got your ass
lost.
whooped 45-19. So it's
Well,
just hard still to justify it all.
yeah, yeah. I think at the end of the day, you saw that first half, and Duke dominated the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
Like they were,
they did. That
they were
D line was
bullying,
getting after Luke Altmaier.
killing it, killing it. I mean, they had 4 sacks in the first half, 7 or 8 tackles for loss, just playing bully ball and running over. And there were a couple mistakes there. I mean, they should have been up, significantly, and they're down by 1.
Yep.
And then the second half, dude, it was just insurmountable. It was like, do you want to win? Or are you trying to win? Or are you trying to
How do you
lose?
put two guys out there with the same number? I mean, just
Let me just tell you something. Do you know Jimbo Fisher at all? Have y'all
oh yeah,
interacted? Have you met? We were watching that game together in the green room, and he is losing his mind. You
oh,
would
I
have thought
bet.
that he was coaching
Oh, I
because he
bet.
said that's his number one, and he would never let guys or never wanted. I don't know if he let towards the end. Never let guys have double numbers because that's the stupidest way to lose a football game. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous and just giving the ball away. Mensa's ball security was not good. It was like anytime he got sacked, it was a sack fumble, and he's giving the ball right back. The muff punt, which that was early, some really bad penalties, linemen downfield, some bad PIs that just got him all the way to the end zone. And then it just, wear and tear. You can only do that so long, before a really good team, a top 12,
Yep.
they'll probably be top 10 now, team, just beats you down. And so it's weird because Mensa looks pretty good outside of the ball in jeopardy, which is a big deal. It's how you lose football
Yep.
games. But they held Illinois, which we thought was going to sit around and play bully ball, to 2 yards a rush.
I know.
Like that's impressive for little old Duke.
No,
So
I thought a lot of
the
good stuff from
score
Duke. I saw a
yeah,
lot of
score
good
not
stuff.
reflective of how I feel about the game. It's highly unfortunate because that's all we're going to think about 5 weeks from now is, oh, Duke got aired out. But if you watch the whole game, you're like, this getting away from 'em. At the end.
Yeah.
17 points in the fourth quarter obviously is a big deal. And Duke pretty much blanked in the second
Yeah.
half.
No, I think there's still a lot to like from Duke, and obviously there's a lot to like from Illinois. There's a reason why I had them as kind of one of my dark horses in the Big Ten this
Right.
season. Luke Altmaier played extremely well. Did not start off great, but
Yeah.
finished the game off and showed you why when he has time. I mean, it really wasn't his fault in the first quarter. He didn't have time. He'd
No.
take a drop and there's a blue devil in his face, and he's trying to have to make a play around a defender. When he was given time, very accurate with the football, could push the football down the field, 22 of 31, 296 and 3 touchdowns, no picks. Hank Beatty was absolutely terrific in every way that
Always.
he found the way to get the football in his hands. Like, dude, just, from the Wildcat to catching the football, it's like, dude, just get 80 the football any way you can. And the defense played well enough. At the end of the day, like, this is a good football team on both sides, and they got a quarterback that can take care of it and that can push the ball to all 3 levels if you give him some time. So, yeah, I'm disappointed in Duke for not making it as competitive as I thought it could have been, but also credit to Illinois. If you want to win big-time football games, which Illinois is aspiring to do that this year, like, they believe that last year they won double digits. They beat South Carolina in a bowl game, which South Carolina was one of the hottest teams in America, that, hey, we can contend with anyone. And it's a
Right.
favorable. Part of the reason why I picked them as a dark horse to make the playoffs and be competitive in the Big Ten is because their schedule is very favorable. No, they got Ohio State. That's it. They don't got to play Penn State, and they don't got to play Oregon. They only got to play one of the big boys from what I've seen and what I saw versus Duke, which I believe is a quality team, Illinois should be fighting for 10 wins, if not 11 wins this season.
I'm with you. I agree, and I'm mostly disappointed in the
I know
Duke
you
Blue
are.
Devils because I thought they were right there, and just to see it was a total team mess up, lack of adjustments, lack of effort and execution, and just doing your job, which is super disappointing. We could go another whole hour in this episode. I do want to close with us both talking about our respective teams here because I think our fan bases want to hear from us. I'll start with the Clemson Tigers,
What the heck? I was even watching the game. I looked up my play-by-play. Goes, wait, is Clemson down
brother.
16-0? I was like, what?
Brother, 16-0. My hand's like right over the red button. And it's just like, here we go. Just drop it. Just do it. Just do it. And halftime goes around. And listen, I'll say this too for context for some that maybe don't know much about Clemson or don't see them, regularly, whatever. Clemson always sucks against Troy. I played against them in 2011.
That
We're
is
losing. Listen. We're losing at halftime in 2011. We won like 12 games in 2011 at halftime going in. We're getting booed off the field. In 2016, Clemson wins the national championship. They beat Troy by 6. This year, they're losing by 16. I don't know why. It's the weirdest thing. Please, God, Graham Neff, do not ever schedule Troy again. Don't put them on the schedule, whatever it is. With all that said, I thought that was the worst half of football I've ever seen in my whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, it was horrific. Cade was off schedule, getting guys hurt. I mean, throwing behind guys, getting his receivers hurt. Got Tyler Brown hurt for a little bit there. Offensive line cannot block, cannot move the ball. Lack of creativity in the play calling. Bad mistake. Honestly, I tweeted out, is it 2023? They're getting the first down. They're sustaining somewhat of a drive. Boom, ball comes out. It's going the other way. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm watching this team that could not finish drives. And then their Klubnik's in his own end zone, throws the ball, it gets tipped and picked off by a D lineman for a touchdown. And I'm just sitting here saying, this can't be happening. This is not real life. And it absolutely was. And it happened. But I think there is something to giving a team credit for going 24 points in the second half, holding a team to 0. Now, partially that's just because you're bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic, better team, and you should do that. But they finished, and Cade turned it on. We saw some really nice deep shots from him to Bryant Wesco. Adam Randall rushes for over 100 yards. That was fun to see, and can he continue to grow there? But there's some massive concerns. Like, these guys have to figure it out. They're way too talented to be struggling the way that they are. And, 3 picks, awesome. The defense relatively, inspiring with, again, 4 sacks. I would like to have seen more tackles for loss. I thought that Troy kind of, played bully ball a little bit in the first half, moving that defensive line out of the way. But you hold them to 70 yards rushing. You'd find a way in the second half. I think people are just really frustrated because quarterback, receiver, D-line, offensive line, and I said this last week, those are the 4 positions you felt really good about, and that would be true strengths to the team, and they have not been. They have not been strengths of the team. Safety, kind of tight end, and punter have been what has been the most exciting. And that was the most concerned about those 3. And they've been the best. And so you're just sitting here like, what are we doing? What is happening? Let's figure it out, Clemson. Let's get it together. You've got a really good team in Georgia Tech, and we'll talk about that ad nauseum here in a bit because those boys might embarrass you if you don't figure it out.
No, they
in
will.
Atlanta. And Buster Faulkner's licking his chops, seeing what he can do offensively. So anyway, that's kind of my soap. It was going to be a lot worse, but they kind of figured it out there. I know Georgia fans weren't too happy either. You were tweeting me like,
no. I was not watching the first half. And then I'm just getting blown up about what's going on in the offense.
Hey, how many texts do you get when Georgia or Clemson sucks? How many texts, do we get?
Screw Gunner. And I'm just like, oh God, what's going on? So I watched the second half and went back and watched the entire film this morning. If you want a detailed breakdown of Gunner, go watch it. I just posted it this morning about 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m. Eastern here on a Sunday. I posted all the big plays, good and bad, from Gunner and kind of broke down some of the themes. So if you want more in depth, go watch it. It's on the channel right now. But I'll say this, it was one of those games that felt worse watching it, but was not as bad after. Like the big saying is always, it's not always as good as you think it is, but it's not always as bad as you think it is. And I think more people are just frustrated with the overall mentality of what the offense is doing. And a lot of it is RPOs. A lot of it is quick screens. A lot of it is get the ball to Gunner's hands. And I think it has to do with a few things. One, the offense line is not playing well. They're just not. They're not protecting well. There were moments where Bobo called shots and the offensive line cannot pass things off. They're in slide protection and they're over sliding and they're not communicating and defenders are running scot-free and Gunner's having to make plays. Like it starts with the offensive line. Offensive line is not playing good enough for Georgia. I think Gunner is a little gun shy at times and a little hesitant and not letting it rip, which costs him up some opportunities to put points on the board. But it's the offensive line. They have to take their game to another level. Is Gunner ever going to be an all-American type thrower of the football? He's not. That's not him. He's not Carson. He never was going to be Carson. That's not his game. His game is running the football, getting the ball out of his hands, and hoping the playmakers do their thing. I like their running backs. I like Frazier. I like Dwight Phillips. I think they got some dudes back there. It's going to live and die this season on how good this offense line is going to be. And they better step it up because next week on the road against Tennessee and that defense and all the pressures, if they play like the way they played the first 2 games of the season, Tennessee will embarrass them.
Right.
They will embarrass them. So the challenge this week is to Cyril's and offensive line to step it up. So
yeah. Good for us.
I don't
Both
think
our
it's as
teams
bad as I think it is.
staring down, yeah, both our teams staring down some tough opponents this week. Both being on
Big
the
week.
road too. It's
Yep.
going to be interesting. We'll see. By the way, Carson Beck says hello, Georgia. That he's doing just fine. 22 of 24, almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to be the number 1 pick. He looks really good. Anyway, without one thing I do want to finish on because we've flown through this thing, and it's just quick answer. Arch Manning, okay, not okay. Where we at?
Improved confidence, but I'm
no.
not sold. I'm not sold. I'll break it down. Trust me, I will have a tape on Arch coming out soon where I talk about the game this past week and kind of where the areas of improvement were and where things are still not trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
But that's it for now. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you go follow us on all of our socials. We'll be doing a lot of clips outside the show, film breakdown, things like that. So go follow us on Mac and Murray College Football. Please subscribe this show right here. We've had a really good first 2 weeks. We're hoping that you guys are enjoying it. We'll continue to grow. We'll be back with our preview show next, and then obviously our big game breakdown as well. Y'all enjoy your weekend. Have a great week, and go college football.
Okay.